it is time to get into some very late January indie releases of 2024. Hello everyone, welcome back to A Fictional Escapist. My name is Kris, and today's video is the indie releases for January 2024. It is a little bit late, I'm sorry. Also, if you can pick up on the water noise in the background, there is a fish tank over there. I'm currently not in my own house. We are at the house that we have kindly been allowed to live in for the next 4 to 6 weeks while our house is sort of set up. But I didn't want to go all month without doing this video. So it's very likely that you'll probably see this setup or outside, or there's a theater room in here. So it's going to be a bit random for the videos that I film whilst in this house. So bear with me. At least there's some nice greenery to have a look at in the background, but the lighting and the sound is going to be what it is. But that is okay. We still want to hear about the indie releases coming out in any month in 2024, so we're going to go ahead and do that video. Before we jump into the list today, make sure you're checking the description box down below for links to my social media and Discord should you want to come along for the ride, and I'll chuck all the covers for the books up on this side so you can follow along. So for the indie releases in January, good news is you can go ahead and purchase most of these. We've only got a few days left in the month because this one will be coming out on the 26th, I want to say. No, 25th it'll be coming out. So, you know, there's a few days left, maybe a few pre-orders you can go ahead and get, but most of these you'll be able to go ahead and get right now. On January 1st, we start off with the Sundering Blade. This is a 1,000 Li novel by Tao Wong. This is epic fantasy, progression, and cultivation, and it says a blade cuts both ways. Now, the 1,000 Li world has gone on for a long time, so I don't want to give any spoilers away just in case, even though it doesn't tell us if it's a book in a series. It looks like it may just be a story set in that world, but because it is such a long-running series, I will move on from there, and just in case we don't want to give any spoilers away. Then we have on January 4th, we had The Ancient Sword Shattering. This is Luke Irontree and The Last Vampire War Book 10 by C. Thomas LaFollette. Now, these are fairly consistent on the list here. We tend to get one every couple of months. If anyone is interested in me reading the first book and giving a review on this series, I'm kind of curious, so let me know if that's something you want, and maybe I'll go ahead and do that. But it's a book 10, so we do need to move on from there. Also, on January 4th, we had Remnant, the Palomar Saga Book 1 by K.R. Solberg, and this is epic fantasy. The shocking death of an immortal sends collector Mabel, a master of shadows, on a quest for the killer. He believes a foreseer of Drawlin, a religious regime, knows something about the murder. John Thurman and his family of Sunrock smugglers stumble into this manhunt. A former slave, he only desires to live unnoticed and to avoid the corruption of the world. But when a Drawlin immortal pursues his children, John retaliates. John's daughter, Ella, attempts to rescue her friend from a ritual sacrifice. To do so, she must defy the commands of her fellow smugglers. Shane Zemata, a Freelander spy, searches for his missing commander. His order complicates Ella's efforts to save her friend and John's mission to protect his family, leading these old friends on a perilous adventure. Smugglers, rogues, and lords clamber to stand against the Drawlin immortals. Can these fragile factions set aside their mistrust to survive a burgeoning war, or will they fall divided? That sounds like it could be a lot of fun. I have heard a little bit about this one in the circles, but I've not obviously read it myself. On the 5th of January, we had Drowning Earth, the Portalverse Elemental Origins Book 1 by Sean Wilson. It looks like it's underwater. It looks like this submarine is kind of a whale. I'm unsure what's happening with the cover. My scared of the ocean ass is a little bit skeptical of this cover and the what's happening in here. It says, in 2055, with global tensions nearing the breaking point, humanity teeters on the brink of annihilation. Well, unfortunately, I would say pretty close to the truth. Their only hope lies with Captain Kel Williams and her loyal team, crewing what some call the deadliest submarine ever built. So, okay, it's a submarine with a whippy tail. Still don't know how I feel about that. Kel races to stake a claim to valuable undersea biomass, a lifeline that could prolong humanity's demise, but deadly Russo-Chinese factions lurk in the lightless depths, determined to stop her at every turn. Besieged by threats within and without, Kel finds herself walking a razor's edge to maintain control. Surrounded on all sides, she relies on her crew's dedication and her bull nuke Oscar Allen to maintain order and avert disaster. Yet, unbeknownst to all, salvation may lie in secrets lurking deep beneath the waves. Hidden truths once dismissed as myth, whispers of impossible doorways, and gods long forgotten. With danger at every turn, will anyone escape the deadly snare, or do ancient myths hold the key to humanity's survival? Sounds like a pretty cool sci fantasy that we have there. On January 7th, we had Krieg Chess number 1 by Phil Tucker. Oh, we've got another Phil Tucker series, an author that I do want to read some more of. I've only read Bastion so far, but I'm very interested. This one is sci fantasy, lit RPG, and progression/cultivation. Krieg Chess, where glory is won at the edge of a blade. In 2442 Scorched Future, the ultimate survival game is Krieg Chess. It's a high-octane fusion of brain and brawn where players morph from mere pawns to mighty kings. Already sounds very cool. Using cutting-edge tech, they unlock hidden powers in a ruthless battle for dominance. From the shadows emerge Sharon and Jesse, refugee siblings from Oslo. Discovered by a cryptic billionaire, they're capsulated into an elite team, training in the wilds of the Faroe Islands. Here, they tap into staggering abilities and battle ferocious rivals, rapidly evolving into champions of the chessboard. But Krieg Chess is more than a game, it's a battlefield. Here, strategy meets savagery, and tales of deception and alliances flare up. In this arena of intellect and intensity, can Sharon and Jesse navigate the treacherous tides and emerge as legends? It sounds pretty cool, not gonna lie. Maybe one that I pick up. Oh, Ozzy's here. Ozzy is the 11-year-old cat, and Ari does not know what to do or what to make of him, but he just rules the house. On January 9th, we had A Reckoning of Storm and Shadow, Heirs of War Book 3 by Jamie Edmondson. This cover gives me very Golden Axe vibes. If anyone played that, maybe I'm just aging myself here, but like you jumped on the lizard thing and you rode around. Anyone? No? That's fine, but that's what this cover is saying to me. It is a book 3, so we will need to move on. On the 9th of January, we had Dreamer's Folly, the Wayward Light Saga Book 1 by A. Samuel Bales, another epic fantasy entry, and one that has caught my attention. The daggers of gutter rats do not easily find themselves in the backs of princes, yet this vengeful hope is all that sustains young Gerald after the prince's tyranny leaves him alone and broken on the harsh streets of Tovar. The godlike idols has abandoned Avandria, never so much as protecting him in dreams where some said they lingered. In a horrible irony, it seems he survived thanks only to his father's violent temper, for so honing his empathy that he might discern danger in man's eyes, or in the strange depths he alone seems able to glimpse beyond. Gerald's fight to survive brings together a diverse band of companions and begins his journey from the cold streets to the spired royal palace. Along the way, he will unlock the magic of a lost world, untangle the secrets of missing idols, find love in the most unlikely of places as his blade inches ever closer to the prince. But alas, not even hatred can be so simple. Old enemies and new alliances are not all they seem. Finding himself at the center of a plot to tear apart the realm, Gerald must choose between revenge and fighting for the very kingdom he owes no favors. Like I said, this one has caught my attention. I love the cover. It looks like it's going to be quite bleak just from the cover there, but it does sound like an underdog story, and I am a big sucker for those. Also, on the 9th of January, we had one I have had the pleasure to read. That is The Rest to the Gods by Joshua Walker. This is a novella in the Song of the Sleepers series. It just says the walls are closing in, the allies are dwindling, the last front is on its knees. This was a really cool story told in 2 timelines. We have one in the past. We get to see why the actions that are being taken in the present are being taken, and the character work and the story work was really good in my opinion, and I think you should go and check it out. On January 14th, we have one of my anticipated reads, which I've bought but not read, and that is The Fey Hotel by Vermilion H. Bain. This is Enchanted with the Enemy. This is urban fantasy, romance, and cozy fantasy. So it is a romantasy, and I normally don't gravitate towards those, but something about this book has definitely caught my attention. A mysterious inn hidden away on the western coast of Washington has asked for help. Avalon, sent to restore the failing reputation of the refuge on the moor, carries a secret that could lead to her own destruction, a secret she's kept since birth, and one that the grumpy, short-tempered innkeeper becomes the first to discover. Eldon is the unwilling manager of the once great and magical hotel that is falling under his inexperienced hand. When he reluctantly requests the help of a hotel management company, he's introduced to Avalon, someone that has more in common with him than either of them knows. They fight their past and one another, but the pair must learn to work together not only to save the inn, but to save everyone they love. Then we jump to the 19th of January, which is one I'm also interested in. Maybe I've just bought all the books in January. I don't know at this point. This is Heralds of a Fallen God. This is the God Engine Book 3. So I'm interested in Book 1 by this author. This is by Mars G. Everson. This is epic fantasy, sword and sorcery, and grimdark. And I really like this cover. And I quite like the covers for the rest of the series as well, even though maybe it's not something I would normally gravitate towards. It is definitely something that is pulling my attention. Yes, this is the conclusion to this trilogy, so I'm going to move on from there. On the 19th of January, we have Curse of Souls by Niranjan K, sci fantasy and romance. The fates of two nations hang on the balance of a man's choice between love and an arcane bond. Philip has been spearheading a rebellion in his country with Casey, his lover and partner, at his side. The rebellion has snowballed into a civil war, and casualties on both sides are mounting. In a desperate attempt for peace, Philip decides to approach Raylan, the second in command, on the other side. He has learnt that Raylan is not as stubborn as his mentor and that he may be open to negotiations. The last thing Philip expects is for a soulmate bond to spring to life between him and Raylan, activating an ancient curse that will kill them both if the bond isn't consummated. Philip has never loved anyone but Casey, and Raylan is a total stranger who he has no feelings for, yet the delicate negotiations between the two nations will fail without him and Raylan. Philip's life is not his own after all, it belongs to the people he has pledged his service to. With more than his life at stake, will Philip be able to let go of the love of his life to bring peace to his people? On January the 20th, we had Beneath the God's Tree, Children of Nexus by S. Keith, and this is a romance, historical fantasy, and again, another really beautiful cover. I really like the painting style that this one looks like it has there, and it just sort of catches my eye. This one says, Amana knows all too well the dangers of catching the attention of the upper class of Uruk. Using her position as a guard to steal secrets of healing and help other lower class people means she works hard to remain unnoticed. Fellow guard Tornos is boisterous, laughing, larger than life, and always around. He attracts attention as easily as breathing, which makes being associated with him dangerous. Better to stay far away, regardless of her attraction to him and his easy calm. That's not always easy. But when Amana inadvertently insults a magistrate, she must flee the city to avoid his vengeance. She takes a last-minute job escorting a pair of noblemen to another town, a job Tornos, I'm going to pronounce that wrong, is also hired for. Along the way, she is forced to reveal her stolen healing skills to keep the small group alive, and finds more support from Tornos than she ever would have dreamed. His confident charm becomes hard to ignore as he sees her as no one else has, even when she's doing her best to be invisible. But opening herself to romance might be dangerous, as the wildlife and bandits they face in the wilderness, and pursuing her dreams of becoming healer could attract the ire of those in the tower. Actually sounds pretty good. Maybe 2024 is the year that Kris stops hating on romance, because Crystal Matar exists, and I really loved that book, and now my heart has been slightly thawed. Who knows? On January 23rd, we had A Wolf in Space by Alex Valdez. This is sci-fantasy / Weird West. There is a gunslinger on a unicorn-looking thing that is wild on the cover. Gunslinger, Skyhorse Rider, Lone Wolf. Malvius is a veteran gunslinger in Laragon, a 6-planet solar system with 2 rivers and 2 train lines linking each planet together. The 2 rivers are a beehive for opportunistic merchants and feisty gunslingers. All you need to survive in Laragon is a Skyhorse to roam the open space and a gun blaster to protect your hide and earn your keep. Wild moons and saloons are aplenty. Saloons? Yeah. Are aplenty. Money is easily made and lost, but life for Malvius isn't about money. It's about helping who needs helping, and shooting who needs shooting. Along comes the Ryok gang shattered, their leader wounded, half of the gang incarcerated. Malvius feels compelled to help. Little did he know that simply relaying a message from their leader to the survivors of the Ryok gang will send him on a wild course of events that will see him facing off a space wizard, assisting a space train heist, and becoming Laragon's most wanted man. That sounds like so much fun. I hope people will pick that one up and tell me if they like it, because it sounds like a wild time. On the 24th of January, so yesterday at the time that you're seeing this, Elergy of a Fragmented Vineyard by Caden Love was released. This is Paladins Under Harvest Book 1, and I've heard some pretty good things about this debut. The beginning of a new fantasy epoch from debut author Caden Love. Forced to appease the policies of a foreign fiefdom, Fenrir must do the harvest organs from infants. 10 years ago, a new generation of children began to manifest abilities from the gods. Now, nearly half of the continent has chosen to graft these organs into adults, granting them their powers. Fenrir will no longer participate, but can he repent his sin before all morality is lost? Meanwhile, he will give all to preserve the process of harvesting, silencing those who oppose her people. Will this land of peace resort to the barbaric practice of war? In a battle of preservation and progression, there can only be one victor. I'm looking forward to picking this one up sometime soon, I hope. I did get the arc for it, so usually that means that it's on a priority list, but I have heard some good things about this debut. On January 24th is another one that I have read, and that is Don't Bloody the Black Flag. This is by James Lloyd Dillon and is part of the Malatu series. It is set before the series, so you can read it separately. It's a separate set of characters, and it was a lot of what James Lloyd Dillon is really good at for me, which is thought-provoking but entertaining at the same time. It says, the fight for peace is often a war. To end nearly a century of war plaguing Enya, a clan of nomads plan to bring leaders from the four nations together. They task a young water dancer named Isala to deliver a missive to the North General, her estranged mother, and convince her to join the conclave. However, there are those who would do anything to defend their war from the threat of peace. After living a life sheltered from the violence, Isala will have to choose between her principles and shedding blood for the good of her people. It was incredible. I gave this one a 5-star. Had a great time with it. On January 28th, this is one you can go ahead and pre-order that we're not too late for, is the Marked Crows. This is the Masked Crows Book 1 by Chad Rederath, and this is Gaslamp. And again, another cover that is quite beautiful. Bacesta is a city shrouded in mystery, where the distinction between hero and villain is thin. Each citizen possesses a unique ability, and in the shadow of lamplit streets, the masked crows hunt down and kill those deemed noxious. Among the crows is Bryn Dimes, a young and newly recruited member of this clandestine? Wow, that was me not pronouncing stuff. Organization. He must navigate discovering his own abilities while facing unknown enemies and deadly vendettas. On January 31st, we have A Silent Country by Morgan Shank. This is the Low Country book number 3, and I believe the end to this grimdark Weird West trilogy before Morgan Shank goes into more epic fantasy territory later in the year. I love these covers. I've loved them since the beginning. I selfishly want to read this series, so I don't want to look at anything to do with the blurb, but if you are liking the series, if you want to get into it, January 31st is the time to jump into the series. And I believe there's an Amazon sale happening from the 31st of January to the 4th of February for that particular series. And to finish up on the 31st of January, we also have Breaker of Fates. This is Broken Song Book 1 by Vela Dinar and Micah Inandria. I hope I pronounced that correctly. This is epic fantasy and sword and sorcery. And yes, my bisexual heart did pre-order this for the cover alone. This is perilous quests give rise to heroes, and broken songs call for the chosen one to be mended. Roderick and Kiva, once friends, now orphaned by a dragon's wrath that fractured the harmony between the great clans, spend their days locked in battle until they are reunited, realizing that they're both dating the same guy, Mateo, whose overdue transformation into a dragon is complicated by feelings of self-doubt after the disastrous attempt to broker peace. Choosing to get along is one thing, but forgiving another or themselves for the hurt they've inflicted is another. Kiva keeps seeing the face of her dead best friend in her dreams, and Roderick's suspicion and distrust keep him up at night. Soon, though, a great threat unites them against a common foe. Someone has stolen a song from the gods, disrupting the tenuously rebuilt harmony of their homeland, and the very beast that tore them apart threatens to be set loose. True heroes of Kor Kasoma are required to serve as a vessel for the other 4 godly songs and reforge the divine harmony. Neither Roderick nor Kiva are such heroes, but unless they can unite the divine and broken songs, unless harmony brings the shattered clans together, all will burn. They are not chosen. They are not the heroes of this story. They are broken and they must be forgiven. This sounds like it's got some really good messages inside, as well as a lot of queer normativity, which we love here at A Fictional Escapist. So that is the list for January of 2024. Are you picking any of these up? Which ones do you think I should go ahead and read? Spoiler alert, I've pre-ordered a bunch of them. They're already on my Kindle. You know who I am as a person at this point. But let me know what you're picking up. If you like the content, give it one of those. If you want to see more of it, click subscribe at your will. Once again, I apologize for sound and lighting. It is what it is, and I'll catch you in the next video. Ciao.